Pick any culture on Earth, any language, any continent, any century. Somewhere in their oldest stories, there is a flood. Not a river flood, not a storm, a flood that ended almost everything and left only a few people alive. Over 500 cultures have this story. 500 cultures that never spoke to each other, separated by oceans, by mountains, by thousands of years, and they all remembered the same thing. The question is not whether this story exists. The question is why. Let's start with the oldest one we know of. Mesopotamia. 2700 BCE, the Epic of Gilgamesh. A man named Utnapishtim is warned by a god that a flood is coming. He builds a boat. He survives. Everyone else does not. The boat lands on a mountain when the waters recede. This story is 4,700 years old. Now go to ancient India. In the Vedas, the god Vishnu warns a man named Manu. A flood is coming. Build a boat. He survives. He repopulates the earth. Now go to ancient Greece. A man named Deucalion, warned by Zeus. He builds a chest, survives the flood, lands on a mountain. Now go to the Americas. The Aztecs had it. The Lakota had it. The Inca had it. Now go to Australia. The Aboriginal Australians have flood stories that go back 10,000 years. Some of them describe specific coastlines that geologists have since confirmed were swallowed by the sea. They remembered it in oral tradition for hundreds of generations. Now look at what all these stories have in common. In almost every version, a god or divine force sends the flood. In almost every version, one person or family is warned in advance. In almost every version, they build something to survive. In almost every version, the boat lands on a high place. In almost every version, humanity starts again from that one survivor. The same story, the same structure, the same details, across cultures that had no contact with each other. There are only three explanations. 1. They all borrowed it from the same original source, but the Aboriginal Australian stories predate any possible contact with Mesopotamia by thousands of years. 2. It is a coincidence. 500 independent cultures. Same story, same structure, same details. A coincidence. 3. It actually happened. Here's where it gets interesting. 12,800 years ago, the Earth was coming out of an ice age. Ice sheets covered most of North America and Europe. Sea levels were 400 feet lower than they are today. That exposed land the size of China and Europe combined. Entire civilizations could have existed on that land. Then something happened. Around 12,800 years ago, the temperature dropped suddenly. Scientists call this the Younger Dryas. The North American ice sheet began to collapse. Glacial lakes the size of entire countries burst open. Trillions of tons of water flooded into the oceans. Sea levels rose by up to 400 feet in a geological blink. The land that billions of people could have called home simply disappeared. Coastlines that oral traditions had described for generations were gone. Within a human lifetime. Think about what that would have looked like from the ground. You wake up one morning and the sea is closer than it was yesterday, and closer the next day. Your village is underwater within your lifetime. Your parents told you about land that is now ocean. You tell your children. They tell their children. For 10,000 years. This is what oral tradition actually is. Not mythology, not fiction, memory. Encoded in story because there was no other way to preserve it. But here is the part that most people stop before they get to. If a flood wiped out a civilization 12,000 years ago, what was that civilization? We assume civilization began around 5,000 to 6,000 years ago. Mesopotamia, Egypt, the Indus Valley. That is what we can see. But we can only see what survived. The land that went underwater took everything built on it with it. Stone structures on high ground survived. Everything on the coastal plains, where most people would have lived, did not. We are not looking at the beginning of civilization. We are looking at the survivors. Every culture that remembered the flood was descended from people who actually lived through it. The story was not invented. It was remembered. The details changed over 10,000 years of retelling. The gods changed. The names changed. The geography changed. But the core stayed. A great flood. Almost everyone died. A few survived. They started again. That is not a myth. That is a memory so powerful it survived the end of the world. The next time someone tells you these are just myth, ask them why 500 cultures that never met each other all told the same one. The answer has been in the ground the whole time. We just had to be willing to look.